Hello and welcome to Taiwan Talks. I'm Ian Kavat. The leaders of the two most isolated countries have met in Pyongyang to deepen security and trade ties and bolster joint efforts to counter the United States. Vladimir Putin made his first trip to North Korea in nearly a quarter century, cementing what Ukraine has dubbed a lonely bromance, 9 months after Kim Jong-un's visit to Russia's Far East in September 2023. Jens Stoltenberg said the relationship demonstrates what happens in Europe matters in Asia, and what happens in Asia matters in Europe. We ask how their increasing partnership impacts security on the Korean peninsula and how far Putin will go in providing Kim with the spy satellite or nuclear technology Pyongyang wants to challenge the United States. Joining us today are Liou To-hai, National Chengchi University Adjunct Professor of Diplomacy and College of International Affairs, WTO Studies Center Director, and Dr. Chyungly Lee, National Chengchi University Institute of International Relations Professor and Research Fellow. Very warm welcome to both of you on the show today. The CSIS's Victor Cha has called their military cooperation the greatest threat to US national security since the Korean War. On this visit, Putin is expected to upgrade relations between the two countries to a comprehensive strategic partnership, including security elements. According to Washington and Seoul, North Korea has already delivered more than 10,000 containers of munitions or an estimated close to 5 million artillery shells to Russia for its war in Ukraine since the summit between Putin and Kim 9 months ago. 2 months after that visit, Russia helped North Korea launch its first homegrown satellite into space in November 2023, after unsuccessful attempts by Pyongyang. Dr. Lee, let me come to you first. So what do you think the US and its allies will be watching most carefully about this visit?
I think the most important thing must be the enhancement of military ties between Putin, Russia, and North Korea. So that's the very important thing. But I also think the U.S. also will watch the China's response. Okay, how will China respond to all the development right now? And of course, I think U.S. the United States will not want North Korea to play a more important role in global security. So that's all things the U.S. will watch.
Okay, Professor Liu, let's talk about what both sides want from each other and how this will concern the U.S. and allies.
Yeah, for the Russia perspective, Russia always feel actually isolated in Northeast Asia. Russia is not very powerful power in our region, even though we know Korea is surrounded by 4 major powers. Russia is always mentioned. But Russia wants to show Russia has its influence in this region. And of course, for Putin also needs to tell Russian he is going to restore the Soviet glorious past. So that's Russia has to show Russia is global power. Already Ukraine case, and then this time to North Korea, and then Vietnam. Before that, China and Central Asia. So that shows Russia is still a global power. This number one is a political interest. Then security interest is second one. The third one, very limited, is about economic interest. For North Korea is very important because North Korea has been isolated by surrounding powers, United States, China, Japan, in the past, including Russia as well. But this time, Russia changed its attitude toward North Korea. Of course, you already mentioned about Kim Jong-un's visit to Russia last September. That actually directly relevant to Ukraine war because the South Korea decided to provide weapons through the United States to Ukraine. So that is why that provided an excellent chance for North Korea to get Russia's support. So that is why for North Korea, actually, security is number one concern because after Yoon Suk-yeol became South Korean president, South Korea has built up this trilateral security alliance with United States and Japan. And plus, U.S. promised to provide submarine, with the nuclear power. So in that case, it's not good for North Korea. So North Korea, number one, is security concern.
Right. Okay. And Professor Lee, something that Professor Liu just mentioned, that North Korea, in a sense, seems to have leverage over Russia. How would you say the shift in the balance of power between these two, compared to before, 24 years ago, when Putin came last?
Okay, I think Putin's visit actually helped North Korea a lot. It's kind of upgrade or enhance or give North Korea an opportunity to play a role and global security issues, because we know it's because of Ukraine war, and then because of the military arms trade between these two countries. That's why we are so care about Putin's visit to North Korea. And in the past, I think North Korea, probably a lot of analysts will say that North Korea's threats only confined to the region, to the Northeast Asia. But right now, North Korea seems to have the opportunity to have the more leverage over the global security issues. So I think in this way, of course, that will push another things, right? So the first thing will be US and South Korea, and also China and South Korea. They will enhance their diplomatic and security ties. In certain.
How do you think that this relationship, this partnership between the two, how will it change the security balance on the Korean Peninsula? The friendship with Putin, with Russia.
Putin and North Korea?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I was saying, that China and South Korea, because we know that South Korea is the former military alliance of the United States, right? And South Korea right now have global ambition as well. So he will have some balance here. But in the past, probably there's no such incentive or strong intention. But right now, because the shift, when Russia and North Korea get closer, even China will have some concern, right? So China is willing to develop further ties with South Korea. But of course, we know that the meetings right now, in the past few days, they have this 2+2 security diplomatic dialogue there.
Between China and South Korea?
Yes. So actually that was upgraded to the vice ministerial level. In the past, it's only director general level. So I think we can see that both sides see the importance of they resume their security dialogue.
And was it a coincidence that there was that balancing because it happened on the same day? Do you think it was a coincidence?
Because we know that South Korea and China, they have talked about that last month already, right? So I think probably if it's a coincidence, probably it's Putin select the day because I think that's set, and also the levels are different. Right? I think the strategic significance for Putin's visit is much more than this 2+2 dialogue, because 2+2 dialogue is a kind of will be ongoing process for China and South Korea. But this after 24 years, quarter century visit of Putin, that will be has more strategic significance.
Professor Liu, you mentioned the transfer of nuclear technology. This is actually a point which analysts question whether Russia would go so far, isn't it, to transfer this sort of technology, because traditionally it has kept this quite close to its chest. If it did encourage nuclear proliferation, then it would essentially start off an arms race, a nuclear arms race. And this is something that we know that China does not want.
Yes, exactly. For China favored peace and stability on the Korean Peninsula. So that is why China has been very supportive of the denuclearization of North Korea. China do not want to see any nuclear weapons on the Korean Peninsula anyway. So that is why Putin's the current changing attitude toward North Korea is not in China's interest. Even though Beijing has been muted to what happened between North Korea and Russia in terms of rising security collaboration. In the future, it is possible. Already, we have already seen Russia provide the military spy satellite technology. So North Korea tried it twice, did not work out. And with the Russian technology, immediately successful launched that spy satellite.
You think that they would go further and provide more of that?
That is possible if, from the Russia perspective or North Korea perspective, both were isolated by the West economically and politically. So that is why there is need to break this kind of diplomatic impasse. But that is why North Korea went to Russia to get support. On the other hand, Russia believe that's why not? Yeah. So Russia is still, in the Ukraine war. It could be protracted or not, but it's not good for Russia. Now it's already more than 2 years. So that is why Russia is very eager to make a change and break the West-dominated international system. All right. So I think that is possible. For example, like nuclear submarine. Now North Korea wants to develop this submarine and upgrade it to a nuclear driven submarine. It doesn't work very well. So if Russia provide this kind of support, given the U.S. already sent the nuclear driven submarine to the Korean Peninsula.
Yeah, but they're their own. They are U.S. submarines.
Yeah,
so this would be,
that is why
this would be
Russia,
different.
for North Korea, they don't care. They want this technology in order to press South to threat the U.S.
Professor Lee, so as Professor was saying, Russia has found a partner in North Korea, probably one of the staunchest partners that it could globally to counter the US-led system. But, can the US and the West do anything about this? Are there any costs for Putin in doing this? I mean, it's breaking all sorts of UN Security Council resolutions in doing this.
I don't know, because we know that the so-called collective West has already done all the things possible to kind of contain Russia, and so I think the approach the trend will continue, right? So they will still using the deterrence. They will try to supply arms or weapons needed for Ukraine, but I also see if the trend is like that, then this way, the other way, the confrontation will get increased and deepened. So probably in addition to the superpower or great powers rivalries here, the third party has a role to play, right?
China.
So yeah, people talking about China, want China to play a more constructive role or a more balanced role there. But in addition to China, probably also international organizations, but not the UN Security Council, because we know that Russia is there. So nothing is possible. We see that in April, Russia has already suspended the expert group on monetary sanctions against North Korea, suspend the mandate for that, and then give Russia freedom to kind of do something violate the sanctions here. So probably not UN Security Council, but other international organizations or NGOs, the third parties, try to make more engagement that North Korea. Among the delegations this time, we see the minister and the head of Russian Energy Agency, not energy, space and energy agency, both agencies. So we know that technology assistance or technology transfer will be the next step, probably will help North Korea. Yeah.
Right, and also the energy that
Yes.
you mentioned. Professor Liu, let's turn to Taiwan. So some analysts have suggested that at some point in the future there might be coordination between China and North Korea over a possible Taiwan contingency, as in if China were to attack Taiwan at the same time that North Korea attacks South Korea. What do you think is a likelihood or appetite for this sort of coordination?
Of course, when it comes to the military affairs, you can never know, very unpredictable. So, yes, there is a possibility China can collaborate with North Korea to launch the two wars at the same time, but not easy, because actually Chinese do not like North Koreans at all. Right? Mao Zedong tried to invade Taiwan in the 50s a long time ago, but North Korea did first to invade South. So that is why the Seventh Fleet came to here. So that is why you never know, because Chinese believe they can do it by themselves to take over Taiwan. Why do they need to get North Korea in? Another thing is that I just mentioned about actually Chinese do not trust North Koreans at all. Now, Korea is divided into two parts. Already North Korea is very wild. Once North Korea really dominated the Korean Peninsula and united the Korean Peninsula, that could be a headache, like Vietnam. Once it got united, could be a headache for China, and North Korea could be even a more big headache if we compared with Vietnam.
Let's just stay a little bit on the Chinese, because it is fascinating, the dynamics there. You said that because we said at the start of the show that Putin and Kim might sign a comprehensive strategic partnership, and yet the partnership between Russia and China is only a strategic partnership, isn't it? So yeah, China's role would seem to me that it actually has quite a lot of leverage, though, because it is backing, Russia. It is helping Russia in its war effort in Ukraine, and also with North Korea. Traditionally, at least, it has been one of the only trading partners for North Korea. So, in your opinion, do you think that China does actually have leverage to play in terms of these two and stopping any further, nuclear arms race?
Yeah, of course. Given the geographic proximity, as you have already mentioned about, in terms of economically, North Korea depends on China in a very big way. 70% of the energy and the food, everything came from China. Free, most times it's free. So that's the reality. So that is why, recently we have heard when Xi Jinping and Putin had a summit in China, in terms of joint declaration, they mentioned about the possibility to have a dialogue of the three parties about Tumen River access to the Sea of Japan, because now the Chinese vessels can only reach Fengshan, but Fengshan is still 15 kilometers away from the Sea of Japan. That part actually are controlled by North Korea and Russia. So if China can get the cooperation of North Korea and Russia, in that case, China's vessels can go out through the Sea of Japan.
Okay, I'll bring you in, Professor Lee. Let me first talk about this. So, for the second time in 2 weeks, shots have been fired across the border, dividing the two Koreas. North Korean soldiers have now crossed the border into South Korea twice in June, with Seoul firing warning shots each time. What divides the two countries at the 38th parallel is the demilitarized zone, 284 kilometers long, 4 kilometers wide, the most heavily guarded border in the world. Now, each time, the South said they didn't think it was intentional. So, Professor Lee, what do you think is happening?
I think it's not just happened yesterday, right? So we know that North Korea kind of declared that they will abandon the Korea Comprehensive Military Agreement.
Which reduces the tensions on the border,
right?
I believe. Yeah.
Right. So yes, of course that's kind of confidence building measures to kind of we have this agreement, then we will start building our trust together. That was signed in 2018, right? So of course there is a possibility for the tensions to be escalated. But I would like to say that the preparation of war or war will erupt is not just it's just not just the basic on their plans. Okay. Also have to see the international responses and international supports, right? So I think it will not happen just like that. But you know, gradually, of course. But how will you say is a large or small? But you know, the small incidents might lead to a big war, eruption of a war. But that's what we try to prevent here. Yes.
Okay, Professor Liu. So, do you think it was something like that, which is these are small steps, but it's leading to a larger scale operation, like an invasion?
I think not easy, because still the two Koreas are dominated by big powers.
And the U.S. has
US
28,000
and China,
troops there.
They have their says or influence. North Korea always made this kind of provocation, but the goal, we need to know, what is North Korea's goal? North Korea's goal is to break the isolation. In particular, North Korea wants to establish formal diplomatic relations with the United States and Japan, and just like South Korea have the formal diplomatic relations with the four big powers. So North Korea also mentioned about North Korea wants to become a normal state. All right. So that is why I think provocation, military clashes, that is possible, but the final goal is not to have a war. The final goal is to make North Korea a great power from Kim Jong-un perspective.
Let's turn to balloons. So North Korea sent trash balloons to South Korea containing waste paper and even animal waste, according to some reports. One balloon landing site was just 800 meters away from the South Korean presidential palace. South Korea has retaliated by sending smart balloons, dropping anti-Kim leaflets, as well as blasting K-pop songs over massive loudspeakers that Seoul has hauled to the demilitarized zone. Professor Lee, let me come to you. So this is also obviously part of a psychological war. You know, how serious is this psychological?
That was quite surprised to a lot of people, right? Because we know that South Korea has been doing the same thing, dropping the flats all the time, right? It's a propaganda. It's a kind of promote soft power of North Korea, try to influence that. But the effectiveness of that only quite limited on the borders, right? But North Korea's behavior is kind of very irrational to drop waste balloon, right? So that's quite new, but it's kind of very shock to international community.
Were you surprised when you heard about this? Because it seems to be a sort of a softer, although not very tasteful, but a softer response.
Response to them. Yeah, since they are dropping things to each other all the time. So, but dropping waste balloon is kind of very rude, I think. Yeah, I was quite surprised, and I said, "Oh, this biological war, then probably warfare." Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll go to our final question. Let's see if we can squeeze that in. North Korea says that the military exercises between South Korea and the U.S. are destabilizing for peace in the region. But Seoul and Washington say they are simply boosting deterrence against Pyongyang's increasing aggressions, which include the only nuclear weapons testing in the 21st century, including ICBMs. The US and South Korea have recently concluded the third meeting of the Nuclear Consultative Group. Professor Liu, can I ask you, what's the significance of this particular meeting?
Yes. In the very beginning, we talk about this. Both sides view each other as a kind of the security threat. So that is why you can easily find about this spiraling tension between both sides. About this nuclear consultation between the United States and South Korea, Yoon Suk-yeol government initially, even himself, made public that South Korea would like to have nuclear weapons. So that is why he mentioned actually this when he met U.S. President Biden in David Camp last August. So that is why U.S. Decided to send nuclear submarines be around the Korean Peninsula in order to show U.S. provided this kind of extended deterrence umbrella to South Korea. But the thing is, more and more South Koreans believe they actually need to have nuclear weapons. And so that is why they continue to talk about this. South Korean side, inside the South Korea, Israel government said they still have a say about nuclear weapon. So, actually, Donald Trump, last time he said, why not allow South Korea to have nuclear weapons? Because no matter North Korea has nuclear weapons already there, okay? South Korea have nuclear weapons far, far away from the United States and all close to Beijing. so that is why we don't know. Another thing is Donald Trump might establish formal diplomatic relations with North Korea. That's something South Korea concerned about this. If that is true, and then from Donald Trump perspective, that's a big diplomatic advancement to China's border. It's another big, bold move. You never know, Donald Trump.
We're going to have to wrap it up there. Thank you so much, Liou To-hai and Chyungly Lee, for joining Taiwan Talks today. If you liked our show, please search for us on YouTube, give us a thumbs up and hit subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching the show today.
In the face of adversity, the power of truth.
A roadmap for a just and open world, charted by the freest country in Asia.
Taipei for Taiwan Plus.
Taiwan Plus News, a voice of freedom in Asia.